Right now at noon, flooded waters in Madison are going down, but officials are reminding residents to keep their sandbags. We'll tell you why. Plus, mandatory evacuations are underway in East Coast states as they prepare for Hurricane Florence. And the country's remembering the victims 17 years after the 9/11 terrorist attack on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
This is News 3 at noon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Hain. Thanks for tuning in to News 3 on this Tuesday afternoon. Let's head over to the Weather Center. Meteorologist Chris Reese has a look at our first alert forecast. Another day, another perfect day out there.
Oh, yeah, it is absolutely gorgeous out there. Temperatures are warmer as well, so we're seeing a lot of them that are into the low 70s. It feels rather perfect to get outdoors if you have the chance to do so. 73 degrees the temperature right now here in Madison, 75 in Janesville. Monroe, one of those cooler spots with temperatures right around 68 degrees. But we're warmer today because winds are coming out of the south. Our atmospheric pattern has changed just a little bit to allow a southerly wind to come on through. We'll see our temperatures top out right around 78 degrees this afternoon before we do begin to cool down, and we will have clear skies to go along with that. We should see our lows tonight falling back into the mid-50s by tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. More sunshine and temperatures topping out, or starting out rather, right around 78 degrees. Now, in terms of Florence, she is still a Category 4 hurricane at this moment. She went through what we call eye wall replacement earlier today, which actually weakened her slightly. But the eye wall replacement cycle is done, Mark. So, of course, we'll talk more about Florence and the rest of our weather here in Wisconsin for the week coming up in our main weather.
Tale of two cities here.
Absolutely.
All right, Chris, I'll see you in a few minutes. Well, many homes in Madison still have sandbags around them, but some homeowners have already cleared the sandbags off their property. But officials are urging you not to do so quite yet. Officials say water levels do remain high, and they could stay that way for a while. When the city gives the all clear, don't throw away your sandbags. You're encouraged to hold on to them for winter using the sand on ice, or you'll also have the opportunity to return them to the city. 3 people were injured when a dump truck hit an SUV in the town of Cottage Grove this morning. It happened on Highway 12 west at Femright Drive around 7:30. An SUV driven by Shelley Sparks Anger of Madison with a juvenile passenger was headed north on Sigelcow Road. At the stop sign, she drove through the intersection and was hit by a dump truck. The driver of the dump truck, Casey Achenbach of Belleville, swerved to miss the SUV, but hit it and flipped onto its side. The sheriff's office said Sparks Anger and her juvenile passenger and Achenbach were all taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. All 3 were wearing seatbelts when the crash occurred. Police are looking for the robber involved in the 5th delivery driver robbery in the Madison area since May. A 44-year-old pizza delivery man was robbed in the 400 block of East Bluff, that's just north of Warner Park, at 12:19 this morning. The suspect, described as a black male, 18 to 20 years old, about 5'5", with a thin build. He was holding a handgun when he approached the victim outside of the victim's car. Officers said the robber took cash from the victim. No injuries reported. Anyone with information asked to call Madison Police or the Madison Area Crime Stoppers. Millions of Americans are evacuating ahead of Hurricane Florence. North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia are all under states of emergency. Along South Carolina's entire coastline, the 4 largest roads are now going one way away from the Atlantic Ocean, where Hurricane Florence is approaching. Mandatory evacuations also underway in North Carolina and Virginia. Crews with the Federal Emergency Management Agency are positioning themselves from South Carolina to Delaware. They expect a 15-foot storm surge, winds of up to 130 miles an hour, and up to 30 inches of rain to an area already saturated from Tropical Storm Gordon.
As this system comes inland, it's projected to stall out, which means copious amounts of rainfall through the Carolinas into Virginia, as well as many of the mid-Atlantic states.
Volunteers from the Wisconsin American Red Cross are headed to the Carolinas to help with preparation for Florence and recovery from its aftermath. 13 people in Wisconsin depart from the Mitchell International Airport in Milwaukee this morning. Those volunteers are setting up shelters for those moving to safer territory. And families of the victims and survivors gathered for services to honor the nearly 3,000 lives lost during the 9/11 terrorist attack on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Meg Oliver reports from Ground Zero in New York.
The nation paused in a moment of silence to mark the 17th anniversary of September 11th, the worst terrorist attack on the United States. In New York, victims' family members placed flowers at the Memorial Plaza in Lower Manhattan.
And to my late wife, Jennifer Lynn Howley.
Many fought back tears while remembering their loved ones killed when hijacked planes struck the Twin Towers.
17 years later, how are you reflecting on 9/11?
Yes, it's still very raw. It's very sad.
Out of the first responders who raced to Ground Zero to help, more than 350 have died from 9/11 related illnesses, and more than 7,500 have been diagnosed with cancer.
President Trump participated in a commemoration ceremony for the victims of Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. He says the country must never forget.
This memorial is now a message to the world. America will never, ever submit to tyranny.
Survivors and family members laid a wreath at the memorial site in Arlington, Virginia. 184 people died when a hijacked plane slammed into the Pentagon.
We mourn with those who mourn and grieve with those who grieve. But we do not grieve like those who have no hope.
Officials say nearly $4 billion has been set aside to help those who became sick or died due to the collapse of the Twin Towers. Meg Oliver, CBS News, New York.
A solemn day indeed. Well, there's more to come on News 3 at noon. Up next, Mr. Food in the Test Kitchen.
We've got an easy weeknight favorite that's perfect for back to school. It's hard to walk into any store this time of year and not notice that it's back to school season. And that means it's time to start thinking of easy meal ideas to add to our everyday dinner time lineup. Today, we're sharing a recipe that's perfect whether you have kids going back to school or not. It's easy, budget-friendly, and it's packed with flavor. What is it? Well, it's a perfect pizza casserole. To make it, all we do is brown a pound or so of ground beef, making sure to break it up while it cooks. Once it's browned, we drain it and add a good amount of spaghetti sauce, along with chopped peppers and onions, and some Italian seasoning. While that's cooking, we line the bottom and sides of a 9x13 pan with a can of refrigerated pizza dough. Now we place a layer of sliced mozzarella over the dough before spooning the meaty sauce over it. More cheese goes on top, and we sprinkle on some grated Parmesan before popping it in the oven. When the crust is golden and the cheese begins to bubble, it's ready to cut into squares and serve. Let me tell you, this is way more filling than your typical pizza. To get the recipe for our deep dish pizza casserole so you can make it as soon as tonight, simply visit our website. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found the deep dish delicious way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
All right, Howard, there's more to come on News 3 at noon. Another beautiful and dry day across southern Wisconsin. Meteorologist Chris Reese will have your first alert forecast when we come back. Checking Wall Street at the noon hour, the Dow Industrial is up 132 points. The NASDAQ up 52. Look who's back in the Q106 radio barn. Pam Yankee, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I dragged all this beautiful weather that we're going to enjoy this week all the way from Canada. We absolutely had wonderful weather despite all the wildfires that they've been putting up with. The winds blew out all the smoke before my group arrived up in Victoria, and we just had a blast. Thought I'd share a couple pictures with you from our big trip. We started off in a kind of unconventional agriculture way. We went out to a bison farm just outside of Victoria. We were on our way over to Vancouver and made a stop to talk to Buffalo Bob and see his bison herd. He's marketing everything on those animals. We got a chance to feed their big bulls little alfalfa cubes. That's one of the things that's really costing a lot of farmers on the British Columbia money, is trying to keep their livestock fed. They've been so very, very dry that they had to buy a lot of those alfalfa cubes out of the Washington state. Those are peppers that are being grown near Vancouver. The farm is basically producing more than 40 acres worth of peppers under glass, and they market those a lot into the United States. So they're watching what's happening with the trade situation very closely. Obviously, Canadian dairy farmers are too. We were at Cedarwall Dairy, again outside of Vancouver. They've got two different herds, one that's an organic herd, the other that's a conventional Holstein herd. And one of the daughters there telling us about how they had to rebuild their facility back in 2015 after a terrible fire. So they're basically just getting into this new barn. They said they're glad they're in now because that steel and aluminum would have cost them a whole lot more today than it did when they put it up. Now they've got a rotary parlor that they're milking their cows in, and they said keeping an eye on what's happening with dairy policy discussion in the United States pretty critical to them. By the way, one of the dairy farmers I interviewed said that they're getting $76 a hectoliter for their milk. $76 a hectoliter. If I did my math correctly, that's about $33 a hundredweight, which is well over 2 times as strong as what our dairy farmers are being paid here in Wisconsin for their milk. So there's a lot of room for adjustment. I think that Canadian dairy farmers I spoke with know that they're probably going to have to sacrifice something. They just don't want to have to give it all up. We'll wait and see how that all unfolds. Dairy is really giving it up today in Chicago. Barrel cheese dropped 6.5 cents to $1.45.5. 40-pound block cheese today down 4.5 at $1.6225, and AA butter dropped 3.25 cents to finish at $2.22.5 per pound. We also got the latest crop progress report today, delayed because of technical issues within the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So look for that information on my radio show tomorrow. I'm going to be traveling up to my alma mater tomorrow, UW River Falls, to visit and speak to the dairy milk haulers across the upper Midwest. So I'll have to catch up with you on Thursday, but I bet the forecast as far as weather is going to be concerned is going to sound just the same when I get back around.
The way it looks. Welcome back. Would you make it back for the Packer game?
Oh, yeah, they flew me home early for that. You know, I couldn't miss. I about had a heart attack, but
I was going to say, I'm
miss.
surprised you're still with us. All right, well, we'll see you on Thursday.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, Pam. Chris is here now. Our weather, very pleasant, not the same situation down south.
That's right. They are bracing for a potential major hurricane to impact them, especially in the Carolinas. Several states under a state of emergency. So we're going to start talking about Hurricane Florence first. She is a Category 4 right now. Winds are at 130 miles per hour, which is a little bit weaker than what you've heard earlier. She did at one point have winds of 140 miles per hour, but she went through something we call an eye wall replacement cycle, and that weakens the hurricane just a little bit. But now we have another well-defined eye once again, and she is starting to move over some open water. I'm going to go ahead and show you that eye wall replacement cycle just for a moment. Notice how we had this really tiny eye yesterday. It gets cluttered up with all the cloud cover, and now we have that real large defined eye now. That is moving into some of the warmest waters off the southeast coast as we speak, providing plenty of fuel for Florence to go ahead and strengthen right now, though we expect her to remain at Category 4. Though winds will approach 150 miles per hour at one point, and that is just shy of Category 5 hurricane strength. She will then stall out over North Carolina, likely leading up to 15 to 30 inches of rain, folks. It's double some of the rainfall amounts that we have seen around here lately. So aside from the coastal impacts, you will have an inland flooding impact for a lot of folks on the East Coast. They do have hurricane watches that are up in the pink, tropical storm watches that are up as you get in some of the lighter shading of the pink closer towards Raleigh. Expect more flood watches to come up in due time. We're going to come back home to Madison. That's where we have all of the sunshine in play right now. We are not worried about any rain or tropical systems. Temperatures this morning started out very cool. We woke up to 51 degrees this morning. It was 46 in Wautoma. We're now at 70. 73, 75 in Janesville. Monroe is still in the upper 60s, but we've got plenty of sunshine out there, and the dew point at 55. A little forecaster's tip here. Dew points right around noon are a good indicator of where your overnight lows will fall in these situations where you have just sunshine for a lot of days. But we'll top out around 78 this afternoon. Watch this, showing the low fall to about 56 degrees, and then tomorrow we'll see more sunshine as well. With high pressure to our east and a low to our west, we are going to bask in southwesterly flow, and that's really going to help things stay warmer as we go through the next couple of days. So 78 degrees this afternoon. As we go through the remainder of the week, we'll see some of those 80s begin to return to the forecast Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Even Monday of next week, we'll have a slight rain chance Monday going into Tuesday, though I'm not too really sold or convinced on it. But that's a cold front that's coming through. Temperatures will begin to fall after that, back into the upper 60s and low 70s for highs. But otherwise, we are in one of those standard fall patterns. The weather's going to be a little stagnant for a bit.
September's often that way.
Yes, it really is. And so your rainfall amounts in September usually aren't all that much either, but we've seen most of the month's rainfall from the first couple days. So I think we love the sunshine out there.
Yes, we do. All right, Chris, thank you. There's more to come on News 3 at noon. Dr. Jim Orvik from the Oregon Vet Clinic is here to answering your pet questions. The number to call is 270-9933. We'll get to your calls right after this.
News.
Dr. Jim Orvik from the Oregon Vet Clinic is here taking your calls at 270-9933. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
September already, hard to believe.
That's going too fast.
Where did August go?
Yeah.
Let's get to the calls. We'll start with Marilyn in Cross Plains. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi.
Hi, which question?
Well, I have a new puppy, a Cavalier King Charles. She was born on April 23rd, and I'm in the process of training her. And she knows what she's supposed to do outside. She goes outside and does it. But I'll bring her back in, and few minutes later, she'll make a little puddle. And I thought, well, I don't think she has an infection or anything because she can go all night and not have any accidents. So I'm just wondering, what can I do to help her understand, or how can I have her show me that she needs to go outside? She'll come up on my leg or something, or if I'm sitting down, she'll come up to the side of the chair, but she comes up for that for many things. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out a way to
Read her mind.
for her to clue me that she needs to go out.
Yes, that could be a tough one. You have one that's trained to ring a bell, is that right?
Well, you have these bells, and you can get them at any pet store. You put them on the door, and you train them to ring the bell when they want to go outside. And it works. So, I mean, there's a reward, too.
Yeah.
And go out, I go out with him.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the only other thing I know is when you take the dog out in the morning and it goes, when you bring it back in, if you keep it in a crate at
No,
night?
she's gone.
Oh, if she does, put it back in the crate for a little bit and take it out again. When it goes that second time, then turn it loose. See if that works.
Yeah, it takes time. Some dogs are harder than others.
Yeah, some never learn, I'd say.
All right, Kathy in Fort Atkinson. Hi, Kathy.
Hi.
What's your question?
I have a Jack Russell that has a lot of allergies. He's been tested and for all the hay fever type allergies, he's got them all. He's short and low to the ground, and he's got the worst skin I've seen him have. And what do you suggest we do with that? He takes Apoquil, and he's on Cephalexin, and we just can't seem to clear him up.
Wow.
Yeah. The dermatologist, I guess, at the university or somewhere that can sort out everything and get to the bottom of it, because it's a big problem.
Yeah, Kathy, the dermatology school at UW is spectacular. But I had a dog with terrible allergies.
Yes.
And Apoquil cleared him up, so
Yeah, she's already.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Billy in Albany. Hi, Billy. Billy, you there?
Yes, I am.
What's your question?
I have a King Cavalier, and I don't know if she's 6 years old pretty soon, but when she jumps down from any height, she makes a yipping sound like it hurts her. And we've had her into the vet clinic, and they pulled on her, and they can't seem to find anything for any legitimate reason. So we don't know if she's just using this for
trying to get
I
attention.
suspect something hurts. And
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go deeper, MRIs and things to either neck or a leg or.
She's not doing it just to get attention.
No, I don't think so.
All right,
I think
yeah, that's-
there's real pain and it needs diagnosis.
All right.
Yeah.
If you're on the line, stay there. Jim will talk to you off the air. Good to see you. We'll see you in a month.
Yes,
Chris has
sir.
one final check of the forecast.
Sunshine, and we'll have plenty of that going through the rest of the day, expect your temperatures to top out right around 78 degrees. Same for Wednesday, 79 for Thursday, 80s return by the approaching weekend.
Summer's not over yet. That's our time for now. We'll see you back here at 4. Anytime, have a great afternoon.